Man, there's just something about Northeastern University Huskies who were drafted in later rounds of the NHL Draft by Canadian teams and the fans speculating about whether or not these guys would sign that is so nostalgic for me. Now, if you don't know, I'm kind of making a joke because Adam Gaudette was a Vancouver Canucks 2015 pick that went through this entire process, and we had the entire same kind of discussion going about the fan base as to whether or not he would sign. But today we're not talking about Adam Gaudette. We're talking about a guy who was taken a lot later in the draft because he's actually significantly younger and not by the Vancouver Canucks. Let's talk today about Jordan Harris, a current 21-year-old who is 5'11", 185 pounds, who is indeed the captain of the Northeastern University Huskies. Now, as you can tell from the entire discussion we have had so far, Harris is indeed a prospect of a Canadian NHL club, that in which is the Montreal Canadiens. He was drafted by the Habs in the third round of the 2018 NHL Entry Draft, 71st overall. Back then, he was coming out of a pretty obscure program, Kimball Union Academy, in the USHS Prep School League, which is indeed the United States High School Hockey League. He had 35 points in 37 games played, but come on, I mean, he's playing high school hockey literally against high schoolers. It's not really a top-tier junior league, and the exposure he did get in the top-tier junior league, the USHL with the Youngstown Phantoms, he had himself 1 point in 5 games played, so a small sample size, not a lot of production, it's kind of all over the place. The Habs, however, took a chance on him in the third round, and immediately after, he showcased himself off as a pretty capable NCAA defender. As a freshman for the Northeastern University Huskies, he had 13 points in 39 games played, and then in his second year, he kind of popped off. 21 points, 33 games played with the Huskies in 2019-20, and he was out there playing for Team USA at the World Juniors with a goal in 5 games. You can take a look at the scouting report here from Dobber Prospects from December of 2019. Currently in his sophomore year at Northeastern, Harris has begun to show some upside that he had coming out of the draft in 2018. He has always been an efficient and smooth skater, effectively using his edges and speed to control the pace of play, but this season, his offensive game has taken a step in the right direction. Matching the 13 points in 39 games from last season in just 18 games this year, he has shown a renewed confidence with the puck on his stick and a willingness to try to make a play. He plays with a ton of speed from the back end and will have to rely on his skating in the defensive zone to be an effective defender. He makes a good first pass and he can skate in transition at the NCAA level, and he fits the mold of a modern-day defenseman quite well. Likely a year or two away from making the jump to pro hockey, Harris is a player that should intrigue the Habs as he develops further. Now, this season, in 2020-2021, Harris took the biggest jump of his career. Not only did he still display the smooth, agile skating ability that he showcased so well in the previous years of his draft stock, but his production really started to follow through. He was a point-per-game guy back in the high school prep league when he was drafted, but hey, 3 years later, he's out here in the NCAA as an alternate captain, a junior for the Huskies, getting 19 points in 19 games played flat. He had injury concerns, that's true, but he was still a point-per-game player with the A on his sweater as he really went out there and showcased himself off well. Despite this fact, though, there was a little bit of unease amongst Canadiens fans, because sure, we saw this guy play for the World Juniors, he was good, we saw him develop in the Northeastern system too, that was great, his point-per-game season this year, phenomenal. But the fact that he even went back to Northeastern in the first place was somewhat concerning. The reason for that is because, if you didn't know, NCAA prospects have the ability to stay in college for as long as they want, 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, because college in North America, typically 4 years, and the NHL teams that drafted these players have their rights for the entirety of their development span in the college system. But if they do not sign a contract by the time they graduate as a senior with their degree, they become full-time NHL free agents, despite the fact that they'll probably be 22, 23 years old. So a lot of NHL fans were kind of looking at Jordan Harris and saying, oh, he went back to Northeastern as a junior. Oh boy, is this the time bomb starting to tick down as to whether or not Jordan Harris will be a Montreal Canadiens prospect? And in fact, this was made even worse when it was announced that Jordan Harris would be going back to Northeastern for his senior year with the C on his sweater for 2021-2022. He's going to be the captain. He's going to go out there, most likely produce at over a point per game rate, or at least that's what we would expect based off of the way that he has progressed. But after that, he's going to be a free agent. And so Canadiens fans were going out there and being super antsy. Okay, what's going to happen here? Jordan Harris, are we going to lose him for nothing? Fear not, Montreal fans, because this article here from TVA Sports is an interview from Jordan Harris, and the title is kind of hyperbolized. Jordan Harris breaks his silence and reveals the plan for the rest of his Canadiens career and progress. The article is a pretty big interview that involves some other narrative aspects as well, but what we're interested in here is indeed the interview itself and what the quotes indicate. Take a look at this. This is what Jordan Harris says about the Montreal Canadiens and their fans. I have absolutely nothing against playing in Montreal. Quite the contrary, in fact. It is the most beautiful hockey market in the world with, as a bonus, the best fans. Everyone was won over by the club's course in the playoffs. Honestly, playing for the Habs would be a huge honor. My rights still belong to them, and the plan is to get along with the team. The article also talks about Jordan Harris's other aspects to his personality. Not only is he a capable hockey player who is able to produce a boatload of points, but he is really dedicated to his studies. This is a quote going over that entire aspect. I've always been aware of how lucky I would have been to join the Canadiens organization this year. To be drafted by this team is, believe me, a privilege that I am far from taking for granted. But at the point where I am in my academic and athletic journey, I cannot make a decision on a whim. I have to consider all the factors. Graduating from Northeastern University means a lot to me, and I wanted to finish what I started. I was also named the captain of this team, and I have a boundless respect for all my teammates and coaches. I see my association with the Huskies as a commitment. There is also the hockey aspect as well. From my point of view, this fourth season in the NCAA will serve me to improve the little details of my game that bother me. I know deep down that I'll be a better player when the moment for the NHL finally rolls around. And you know, that's the other thing as well. For a guy who is super dedicated into his studies, you gotta remember, if you sign an NHL contract in the middle of your degree, you're not allowed to play Northeastern hockey anymore because you're all of a sudden a professional athlete and you kinda know the rules about professional athletes being NCAA talent. He values his education and he wants to get that degree, so he's gonna go back there, work on his academic career, which you should not fault him for in the slightest, and improve the fine details of his game as well. I want you to know that it was an extremely difficult decision for me. There were very painful days of reflection. Imagine that you have the opportunity to chat with Marc Bergevin and Claude Julien on the same day. Okay, not Julien anymore. Let's not get ahead of ourselves there, Mr. Harris. You hang up and you know that your dream is more and more concrete. But I also told myself that university was important to me. I was so mixed up. I had many discussions with my parents. For 3 weeks, I would wake up in the morning having no idea of the right decision to make. I finally chose the NCAA, and I believe, as I said before, I have good reasons to justify this decision. He says that his entire striving towards being an academically successful individual comes from his parents. He was brought up like this. He doesn't see university as just a stepping stone to the NHL. He wants to actually be educated and come to university with one goal in mind, to make his school experience as enriching and complete as possible. And that's kind of what I want to hammer down here. Nobody should go out there and shame Jordan Harris in any way for being dedicated to school, because hockey is not a guarantee that's going to last forever. What if Jordan Harris goes out there, he injures his foot, and he's never able to play an NHL game ever again? You know, like knock on wood, just to make sure that doesn't happen, but the possibilities, you know. Education is an investment of time into yourself, and ultimately that kind of thing sticks with you for life. The rest of the article goes over a few of the other aspects of his game, what exactly it is that he wants to improve upon, how he is practicing so far, how excited he is for the next season, and you know what, I'm excited for him too. It's not every day you see a guy with this amount of hype in a Montreal Canadiens organization, just a Canadian organization in general, who has this level of star power. He's a point-per-game defenseman in his junior year. He's going back to be a senior as the captain of the team. I want to see how he's going to be able to do. I want to see if he's able to carry over all the mojo he had from last year. The article wraps up with this quote over here from Harris. We haven't heard from the team, the Montreal Canadiens, for a while now. It goes back to the discussion where my agent told Marc Bergevin that I was coming back to Northeastern for the year. And so to wrap up this video, we'll just end it off with this. He's going back to college for one more year, and we've kind of gone over the reasons why. but Montreal still has the chance to sign him afterwards, and I mean, look, it's definitely something to fear if he does decide at the end of the 2022 season, oh, I kind of don't want to play for Montreal anymore, I want to go somewhere else. That would be dangerous, but the fact is, the way things are right now, we have no reason to believe that Jordan Harris would not want to come to Montreal, and that he's only staying in Northeastern one more time because it's for his own personal growth and development as an academic student as well as a hockey player too. I like the way he talks about it here. He's convinced me. Has he convinced you? Talk to me in the comments if that is the case. Also, what do you think about Harris as well? A prospect, what's his ceiling? Where do you see him playing after 2022? I hope you enjoyed this video. Rosén 99. And bye.